the shit hot. Oh, I'ma light the shit up. Yeah, I'ma make the shit hot. Oh, I'ma light the shit up.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the movie What If Deku Got Stronger When Injured. I know what you're thinking, this one ended quick, and it's because I realised he was going to get too strong too quick. Like at this point, it was going to one-trick everyone. So yes, enjoy the movie guys. Comment down below what else you want to see. The new series is coming soon. If you join the Discord, you already saw the sneak peek of it, so you know what it is. There's also another My Hero Academia one coming with it. We're going to keep the uploads consistent. As soon as one series ends, we'll get the films out. And then the next day, it'll be the start of the new series. Other than this, guys, join the Discord. Check out my thumbnail artist. He's such a G. Like, subscribe. We are so close to 20,000 subscribers. It's a dream. And yeah, other than that, enjoy the film. Go get your popcorn, milkshakes, whatever the hell you eat. Plug it into your cinema TV and enjoy. We go to Deku. We go to Bakugo, who's in primary, who's just awakening his quirk, and there's everyone around him chanting, "You're so great, Bakugo, you're going to be a great hero one day, you're the best, you're the best." Katsuki Bakugo gets it stuck in his head that he's the best, and no one else is above him, he is above the rest. And as such, very quickly he adapted that attitude and would bully other students. His best friend at the time, Deku, didn't awaken, and this started to give Bakugo the ick. Yeah, I hate the word. And he started making fun of Deku, calling him useless. That's where the Deku name started. But one day, Zuko was with Bakugo, and he was picking on another student with Bakugo's new friends. And Deku told him to stop. Bakugo didn't listen, and Deku ran in the way and grabbed his fist. This pissed Bakugo off. Someone who's quirkless standing against someone with an amazing quirk like him. He said enough and he pushed Deku backwards. He went to swing again, but Deku kept on catching it. Bakugo finally lost his nut and he swung round and punched Deku in the face. Deku fell backwards. A tear came to his eyes, but all of a sudden he felt a course of energy, a course of strength, a course of power rush around his body. His eyes glowed green for a second as he stood up. Deku had a feeling he's never had before. A feeling that he's ready to fight, he will fight. And he said, "Enough, Ka-chan." Bakugo didn't listen, and he went to punch him again. Deku pulled him to the side and decked Bakugo hard in the face. Bakugo stumbled back a bit holding his cheek and said, "That weak Deku dares to punch me." Bakugo fast forwards and kicks Deku in the stomach. Deku barely catches himself, and yet again, this kick, he feels empowered. And Izuku's mother, who's just managed to arrive at the park, sees what's going on. And she goes to rush over, but Deku rushes in, and Bakugo swings again. Deku ducks beneath it, his reaction time seems faster, and he kicks Bakugo hard in the stomach, saying, "Payback's a bitch." Remember, I just said that because he's like 4 or 5 years old, I think it'd be funny. This kick actually sent Bakugo flying backwards a bit. Bakugo was winded, he's crying, and he's holding onto his stomach, he's barely breathing. This kick was not a kick that a 5-year-old should be capable of. Bakugo finally lost his nut as Deku went toward him. Bakugo thought Deku was about to swing. Deku ran to rush over to see he was okay. Bakugo put his hands up and sent an explosion that burnt part of Deku's face. Deku jumped back screaming, and he looked at Bakugo with killing intent. His mother couldn't get there in time. Deku, speed that 5-year-old shouldn't possess, rushed at Bakugo. Uppercut, grabbed him by his throat, slammed him to the ground. The ground beneath Bakugo cracked, and Deku's eyes were glowing green. His mother sees us and thinks his quirk's awakened. Bakugo seeing Deku's crying and seeing the burn in his face, panics. He said, "I'm sorry, Deku." Hearing this apology, Deku realised what she's doing and he lets go of Bakugo. He stumbles backwards and he holds his face. Something's weird. That burn that he had, it completely healed over, but there was still a bit of a scar. Seeing this, Bakugo lunges forward trying to apologise, but Deku flinches a bit and he rushes off to his mum. Bakugo felt terrible about this. His mother takes him to get his quirk tested, and at first they try telling him that he's quirkless, until his mother repeatedly tells him what happened. Yeah, some more guys. After finally getting tired of trying to convince him that her son is quirkless, the doctor thought I might as well show him. They take him their own test. That's where they're caught off guard. Deku is a lot stronger, faster, better reaction time than anyone his age should be. And they ask Deku, what happened? Deku says, I tried stopping Garchan from hitting someone, then he hit me. When that happened, I felt different. And then I punched him, and the punch did a lot more than I thought it would. Then he kicked me, and that feeling happened again. And then I kicked him back. I didn't think it was going to do much, but he got sent flying backwards. Hearing this, the doctor is caught off guard, and he thinks, could it be? He takes him to a training room, and he tells Deku to pick up a weight. Deku picks up struggling, but he could do it. It was about 50 kg. Remember, he has enhanced strength now. And he says, okay, good. That's what happened. The doctor pulled out a scalpel. The doctor booted Deku in the chest. Deku coughed up and it went but the pain quickly faded as Deku felt stronger. His mother started screaming, and the doctor trushed her and said, "You okay, kid?" Izuki said in his little cloudy voice, "Yeah, but it doesn't hurt like I thought it would." The doctor says, "It seems to be as I thought. Try to pick up the weight again." Deku goes to pick it up, and this time he could easily pick it up. His mother's confused. The doctor explains to him, it seems that any time Deku gets injured, he gets stronger. That is quite an interesting quirk. If he takes martial arts, he would most likely gain strength every single day, as you're not going to be able to learn without getting hit. Hearing this, Inko at first refused, but the doctor made the point. He's a powerful kid. He has a powerful quirk. If villains find out, they're going to try to recruit him. At least he'll be able to defend himself. Hearing that her baby might be at risk, she enrolls Izuku in martial arts lessons. And Deku starts learning them. A week goes past, and he still hasn't spoken to Bakugo. Deku has been testing out his quirk. Actually, we're not going to do that little backstory thing. We now time skip to like halfway through the middle school term. And Deku is known as one of the top in the school, really. As with his martial arts training, he repeatedly got kicked, punched, slammed to the ground. But every single time that happened, he got stronger. But it wasn't only physically. The speed he learnt at increased as well. So Deku's a master of nearly all martial arts. And him and Bakugo haven't spoken since that day. Bakugo is similar to back then, but he doesn't really beat up people like that. He gets into fights a lot, but he don't start them. Or he does with his mouth. But he doesn't bully people, he just gets into a lot of fights. Every single day Bakugo thought about apologising to Deku. He still remembers the look on Deku's face, realising that he'd been burnt. But he can never find the courage. One day Bakugo's sitting at his desk, and like 10 people came into the classroom. Some of them definitely weren't middle schoolers. One of the kids that Bakugo had a fight with, and one clearly was leading them, and he pointed at Bakugo and says, "That's the kid that beat me up." Before Bakugo had a time to react, I'm saying some of these kids were like 15, 16 by the way, guys. They rushed at Bakugo. Bakugo would manage to fight some of them off using his quirk, but some of them had decent quirks themselves. One of them had a electric whip quirk. One of them also had a wind quirk, a vine quirk. They had a bunch of quirks. Bakugo at first was actually winning until they all jumped him. Bakugo couldn't keep up with the series of attacks and started getting beaten down. Everyone who was watching this didn't know what to do. And that's when Deku walks into the classroom. He walks in and his heart stops. He sees Bakugo getting held up, bloodied, and getting hit after hit after hit. The person who's hitting him laughs and says, "You stupid brat, you shouldn't have got into a fight with him." That's one of my friend's little brother, you see. And that friend is quite notorious around these ends for, actually I can't say it, but now you're gonna get punished. As he says that, a chair hits him around the back of the head. Deku's chucked the chair across the classroom and screams, "Get off him. Get off Karchan." Bakugo opens his eyes to see Deku defended and he smirks and he says, "Nerd, I'm sorry." Seeing this, Deku smiles and he says, "I know, I just didn't know how to start a conversation." Bakugo and him laugh. But I say the group of 15 people, especially the one who got knocked down, get up, looking at Deku with a desk there, and he goes, "Hey brat, I suggest you leave." But the leader of it says he don't get to leave. He just chucked the chair at me. One of the people with Vine's quirk launched their Vine at Deku, but Deku easily dodged out the way. And he says, Deku starts saying, "Well, but such a casual voice. I would have normally let you leave, but you hurt one of my friends. Now you at least got to get a bit of a black eye." He begins stretching while still dodging, and he finally lands in front of the person throwing vines. He leans his body back and punches him. The person goes flying, even through the wall to the next glass. Everyone seeing this starts cheering. They knew Deku was strong, but all the facts he got ended in one punch normally. They didn't realise he was that strong. All the people scream at him, "You bastard," and they begin rushing at him. Deku's easily dodging, and he's blowing through one person after the other, using his martial arts. One person has a broken arm, one person has a cracked rib, one person literally got booted out of a window. And the leader who's watching this, he's watching as all his friends, or men, should I say, get beaten down in front of him. But Deku isn't holding back. One person got a chair, a whole desk smacked around their face. And that person, of course, has a broken jaw and is unconscious. It now finally gets to the last two. This one who had an electric quirk. He amps his quirk up to full power, even after the leader says, "Don't, you'll kill him." Actually, yeah. And this lightning bolt shoots as fast as lightning. Deku's reaction times are fast, but not that fast. Deku gets hit directly by this attack and gets blown back. He starts screaming. He's literally getting electrocuted. You can see burns on his body appearing. But something's weird. The screams have stopped, and now it's just a glare. His eyes are glowing, and he seems to stand up. Deku can feel his entire body being overrun with pure power, pure energy. This continuous attack is just multiplying his power every single second. But eventually Deku breaks away out of the electricity, and he rushes towards the person who launched it. Deku was confused. Everything seemed to be moving in slow motion. That's when he realised he was just moving quick. For everyone else, it seemed like Deku flash-stepped and appeared right in front of him. And I'm telling you, the punch they heard, he got sent through the whole building like 15 walls and flew into a building outside. This caught the attention of hearers and they rushed into the school. But now it's finally the boss turn. And he says, "You brat." He looks at Deku and one of his fists turned into steel, and he rushes Deku and swings. Deku blocks it, and it sounds like metal hitting metal, except for the person who threw the punch is shaking his fist in pain. How hard is this kid's skin? And Deku laughs and says, "Is that really all you got?" He boots the person in his stomach and knees him in his face. The person's barely conscious and he says, "Damn it, I have to use that power." Red lightning spreads throughout this person's body, and Deku says, "Two quirks, impossible." They appear in front of Deku in a flash, and Deku blocks it, but his arms get broken, he flies backwards. It heals quick. Remember, his healing factor gets faster as he gets stronger. They heal quick, and Deku with this injury, his power, as you know about the title, he's got stronger. Deku rushes at this person as they was about to punch Bakugo again. Deku dodged out of the way one punch and then the next, and he screamed, "Time to end it." Deku put his foot all the way back and let it fly and kicked the person in the balls. They dropped as the hero rushed in to see the unconscious people on the ground. They first went to subdue Deku, but they couldn't even lay a hand on him. And Deku says he got really annoyed and he open palmed the hero backwards. And he explained, "We're all students. Do these look like students? Some of them look like grown men." They bust into the classroom trying to beat up that kid in the corner, showing Bakugo being beat up. Sardas intervened. All the class agreed, and then they looked at the person on the floor that Deku just put in the balls, and they froze up a bit. He said, "He's a well-known villain." "Kid, how did you..." Deku just says, "I'm just naturally strong." They arrest him, of course, and they also offer Deku a interview at multiple hero schools, including UA. Deku took Bakugo to the hospital as his mum couldn't get out of work and she get fired. And Bakugo woke up in bandages as Deku's sitting there sleeping. He smiles and thinks, "We finally sorted it out." Deku's eyes shoot open and he goes, "You alright?" Bakugo goes, "Yeah." Deku punches him in the face and he says, What was the starter for? I waited basically 10 years nearly for you to come up to me and you didn't." Bakugo's at first going, "You bastard, what was that?" And he freezes up and says, "Oh, I'm sorry." Deku, seeing this, Deku feels bad and he says to Bakugo, "You don't need to apologise." You did what you did and I've moved on from it, so let's just pretend it didn't happen. They both agree. Oh. A few months go past and it's now the end of the school year. And Deku had an interview with UA. It was with Nezu, of course. And they asked him about his quirk. Once he explained it, Nezu's eyes shot up, glowing with excitement. Such a powerful quirk. No one seemed to really grasp the potential of Deku's quirk. He immediately got in on UA on Nezu's recommendation, but he still asked to take the exam. Of course it was approved. And as the teacher's reading out blah blah blah, oh, so 2 people want to go to UA, Deku and Bakugo. And then the class goes, go figures. Bakugo doesn't give his speech about how he's better than everyone. Ever since he blessed it with Deku, he's been humbled a bit. But then the teacher starts a bit and says, actually, only one person wants to. Bakugo freaks out and looks at Deku, and Deku just smiles. And the teacher goes, that's because it seems on this form Deku's already gotten to UA. The entire class starts going, what? That has a like 0.1% acceptance rate. Bakugo hearing this starts and says, it looks like my competition just got a lot bigger. When I go to Bakugo and Deku are leaving school, Bakugo goes with his mates who aren't really bullies anymore, but Deku says no thanks, I had to take a shortcut to get home. And that's what Deku does. Until, as he's walking through an alleyway, a weird slime villain launches at him saying, finally I can get away with this body. He gets surrounded on it, and he's swinging and throwing, and his punches ain't doing nothing to the slime. Deku feels like he's about to pass out. In cane injury, he can feel his lungs shutting down. But this yet again is an injury. His body gets overwhelmed with power. It's continuously happening. And he finally figures out what he can do. He grabs hold of the slime and tears it. Although he did nothing at the start. As Deku was getting more and more damage done, as he was swinging his body, more and more power was formed. And eventually, one of his punches broke through and sent a shockwave, blowing the slime villain off him. Deku didn't take a chance. Even though he had 0 oxygen in his lungs, he rushed towards the slime villain and punched him in the eye. This eye actually popped. And that's when All Might finally arrived to see this kid subduing the villain that he couldn't catch. All Might throws a punch and Deku gets out of the way as the slime villain is defeated. All Might says, young man, you shouldn't use your quirk. And Deku says, don't even dare lecture me. He attacked me. And All Might says, I guess it was self-defense. And then All Might looks Deku up and down and finally recognises him and he says, are you Izuku Midoriya? Nezu's told me quite a lot about you. Deku of course enters his fanboy mode. He's still a fanboy of All Might, but not as big as before. All Might only knew about Izuku as Nezu made a point that he found All Might in a successor. When he heard about his quirk, All Might agreed that quirk is a great mix of one for all. But, nevertheless, Deku asks him the question. And he says, can you still be a hero if you get into fights a lot? All Might laughs and says, yes, of course you can. That's one of the points of being a hero. Because all them a lot of fights you get into, they're for the greater good. Hearing this, Deku's eyes light up. As ever since he started hanging out with Bakugo, he got into a lot more fights. Not bad choice. It's because he was defending Bakugo. Bakugo had a lot of beef with a lot of people, but when he started hanging around with Deku, he swore he was going to try to be a better person. So as such, people would come try to fight him, but Bakugo would refuse. It gets to the point they would punch Bakugo and Bakugo wouldn't do nothing back. This has quickly passed, as Deku even said to Bakugo, don't be a bitch. And as such, all the fights that Bakugo got into, Deku backed his boy. He's a loyal one. But hearing this, Deku gets thrilled. All Might says, young man, actually, I have to talk to you about something. That's when they hear a massive explosion. They look behind them. The slime villain's gone. They rush through the city and Deku sees Bakugo being gripped up by the slime villain. He screams, don't you dare, you bastard, and he rushes past all the heroes. And he jumps upwards. The slime villain sees him and panics saying, not that kid again. He barely moves out of the way and Deku punches the ground. Everything around him gets shattered up. Everyone thinks, what strength for that boy. Deku was even shocked by the strength. He didn't fully grasp the power boost he got from fighting the slime villain. And he says, you're not getting away from me. Deku, using martial arts, manages to amp up his speed. And he dives towards him. He lunges in and he actually pushes himself inside the slime villain, grabbing Bakugo, and he flies out the other end. The slime villain thinks, fag. All Might jumps in, attempting to defend a massive punch as he hasn't reached the time limit yet. But He jumps in ready to throw the massive punch, but Deku does the same thing on the other side. And they both throw the punch at the same time. Due to this, these two separate tornadoes form. While Deku's isn't nearly as big as All Might's, it's still prominent. And everyone seeing this thinks, he looks just like the next All Might. And everyone starts applauding. He gets lectured, and so does Bakugo. But they both get congratulated about their quirk. Because Bakugo wasn't giving up. He was still launching massive explosions, even bigger ones than before, as him and Deku trained together. And as such, All Might decided then and there. Not only was that kid a true hero, rushing in with no fear, he had a quirk suitable for one for all. All Might was dead set on Deku becoming his next successor. Deku goes down to the beach that's covered in rubbish, and he begins clearing it. Within about 4 hours, the entire beach is clear, and All Might appears, seeing Deku on the last piece of rubble screaming. Not as loud as in when he first actually cleared it in canon, but still screaming. Seeing this, he recognises it as his trance. He enters his buff mode and sprints over. He appears in front of Deku, scaring him, and he immediately says about his injury, how about his quirk, and he wants Deku to be his successor. Deku says, no, I want to be the #1 hero with my quirk, not yours. Hearing this, All Might gave into panic. He didn't expect someone to turn it down, and he begins pleading with Deku, talking about how he'd be stronger, how it'd be beneficial for him to be a stronger hero. And Deku says, I want to be strong with my own power. And All Might says, you can be strong with your own power, it's just a little boost. After about 10 minutes, All Might makes a deal with Deku, and he says, if you can land a blow on me, not a blow that I block, an actual decent blow, and then he says that you don't need to be my successor, but if you can't land a decent blow, like one that I can't block, like my stomach, my face, anything like that, then if you can't, then you have to be my successor. If you do, you don't. Seeing this, Deku agrees, and he throws a punch at All Might without any warning. All Might disappears seemingly right in front of Deku, and he gets a flick on the back of the head. Deku turns around, and his instincts tell him to block. As he does, All Might falls, swings his arm around, and hits Deku hard, sending him flying across the beach into a wall. Deku smashes into the wall, and he's just in pain. The pain quickly fades, and he coughs up blood quickly. He stands up, he feels energy rush right his body. He smirks and says, this is going to be fun. He sprints towards All Might and jumps up to the air, and he sends a massive punch flying downwards. All Might blocks it, and you can see the actual force of it go shoot out from behind him. All Might says, not bad, but not enough. And he gets booted, and he boots Deku in the stomach. Deku coughs up blood again, but without even seeming phased, he just gets a strength boost and flicks down and tries booting All Might in the head. All Might jumps backwards and sends a punch using that shockwave that it caused to hit Deku. This goes on for hours and hours, until the 5-hour mark, where Deku needed to get a hit in him within 5 hours, is nearly up. He has about 3 minutes left, and he says, damn it, what can I do? And he finally realises, that's what I can do. He jumps out of the way of All Might, jumps over him actually, and rushes towards the wall. He begins headbutting it over and over and over again. Again, he realises it ain't enough. He runs over to a piece of scrap metal and starts doing it. All Might's very confused until he starts seeing blood on the metal. He rushes over to stop Deku, but he does it harder and harder each time. All Might's starting to notice the piece of metal seems to be getting crushed more and more each time. And Deku shoots up. All Might grabs onto his shoulder and Deku spins around. All Might blocks the hit, of course, but this hit was 20 times, maybe even 30 times stronger than the last. All Might gets sent flying backwards, but he still blocked it, don't count. All Might before was about 40%. He now amps it up to 60 and rushes at Deku, who punches him hard. Deku just eats it and he rips onto All Might's arm. He now has about 10 seconds left. He's using his martial arts now, manoeuvring his body around All Might until he finally lands right in front of him. All Might's arm pushed to the side. Deku with all his force chucks his fist upwards and punches All Might directly in the chin. And the time All Might sat on his phone goes off just afterwards. All Might stumbles backwards and falls on his ass, and he says, damn it, I could have had a successor. Deku puts his hand out and lifts All Might up and says, I accept being your successor. I realised then and there that, although I'm strong, I needed someone to guide me, someone to challenge me. And a little boost in my power is good if it means I can protect people. It doesn't matter about my honour. He does All Might smiles and he bats his finger, releasing a bit of blood. He tells Deku he needs to swallow his blood. Deku gets a shiver, but he does it. Due to it being about blood, it happens instantaneously. And it rushes throughout Deku's body. All Might says, don't you dare use it, we need to train your body first. So they get the usual training. They go to UA facilities, so they can get insane amount of weights. Due to this, Deku's growth is he's more bulky than canon, but his muscle density is way better. And I'd say he'd be able to use about 30% with no throwback, but he doesn't know this yet. And eventually the first day of the exam happens. Deku sits in the hall with everyone, even though he doesn't have to. And he's just glaring at everyone, trying to see what they are. And that's when Ida stands up while President Mike is explaining. This is after the written test, by the way. Excuse me, you are intimidating your future classmates, throwing us off our game, and just being a pain in the backside. I suggest you stop, or I shall remove you from the facility myself. Deku just starts laughing at him and starts violating. You forehead bastard, bruv. Look at you, you got engine on your leg. What are you gonna do to me? Send a flying kick? Are you in gear first? Do you have a clutch? Everyone starts laughing at Ian and he goes a bit red. And he goes, how dare you? I'm from the Tenya family. And Deku says, I'm from the Suck Your Mum family. You still won't see me bragging about it. He goes bright-eyed again and he actually tries to kick at Deku. Deku slaps his leg away, making him spin round, and he gets an uppercut, knocking him out. And Deku just sits back down. Bakugo, seeing this, is holding in his laughter. And we'll get on Bakugo in a bit. We then get to the robot explanation, the 1 point robot, the 2 point, the 3, and then the 4, and the 0 point robot. They get told to see the 0 point robot to run away. Because the purpose of it is to see if you can get away when you need to. The fight begins. Deku's just breezing through the robots. He got told that when he gets to about 150 points to stop, so there's robots to everyone else. And he gets to that point in roughly about 3 minutes. All the teachers watching this are round in applause. They see how he got in a recommendation. He's insanely powerful. And they can all agree that it's clear he's been trained by All Might personally. Deku's just surveying and he's watching everyone. Even that kid he knocked out is actually doing pretty alright. That's when he feels that the ground beneath him begins to shake. And he says, huh? Oh, it's the 0 point robot. I guess I'll just leave it. And he starts wandering off. That's when he hears a scream for help. His hair stands on end and he spins round. He sees a girl stuck underneath rubble. He rushes over to help her. There's a girl with brown hair. She says, I can't help. I can't get, my leg is stuck. Deku picks up the rubble and chucks it. Ooh, he chucks it away with ease. And he begins picking it up and runs. He realises he isn't going to get away in time, and he says, time to test out the quirk. He says, All Might, let's... Oh, I need to sneeze. Oh, it's gone away. He says, All Might, let's test out if you really are all talk. He squats down, and he channels the power into his legs. Following his All Might's advice, squeeze your butt, tense your buttocks, and then in your heart scream, smash! And he jumps upwards. Deku didn't realise it yet, but his legs got absolutely demolished, and he pulls his hand to his side, and he yells, smash! He punches the robot, and he gets it flying backwards, and gets absolutely destroyed, just like in canon, and he's fallen down to the ground. He then realises that his legs are shattered and so is his arms. But this is probably one of the worst injuries he's gotten in ages, and the power boost he got from it was insane. If you're wondering, yes, 1 foot is still going to be broken in this one, because no matter Deku's base strength, 1 foot acts as a multiplier for it. So the stronger Deku gets, the stronger 1 foot will multiply. So it's an infinite increase in it. So it is still going to be useful. But also one thing with Deku is hidden factor increases every time his strength does. But as long as he's conscious, as soon as he goes unconscious, his hidden factor is negated. Luckily for him though, he was conscious, and his arms and legs heal, and he managed to land perfectly. And he rushes over to the girl, and he picks her up again. And he's like, you okay? She's like, yeah, my ankle. He sits her down, and he rushes over to the robot. And he hears someone yelling, help, I'm stuck underneath it. He's surprised that someone even managed to survive this. And he's panicking, and he kicks it as a joke, trying to see what he can do. As he kicks it, the robot goes flying away. He's confused. I didn't use 1 foot at all. Is it where I put my arms and legs I got this insane power boost? You're wondering now, Deku just hit that robot with the same force he did when he used a 100% smash. Yes. And underneath it was a redhead boy named Kirishima, who was hardened. And he was like, yeah, sorry, I'm completely fine, but I couldn't find a way to break through the metal. My quirk's hardening, you see, so either way I would have survived. Deku laughs and says, that's an amazing quirk, you're lucky. If it was anyone else, they could have died. Kirishima goes, no, what's even more amazing, you took down that robot in one punch, and then yet again you kicked it across the field with ease. Just how strong are you? Kirishima looks him up and down and he finally recognises him. 1 second, drink. He's like, wait, you're that boy who they called the next All Might. You saved the other boy from that slime villain before, and your strengths look similar to All Might's. Deku laughs and says, am I really that famous? After everyone recognises that, they all start to fangirl at that boy, and then Ido realises his mistake. No wonder that kid was so strong. He's considered gonna be the next All Might, and in brackets, if you didn't understand that, the next #1 hero. He immediately starts planning his apology for when they go actually into UA. Deku walks out and he sees Bakugo there. He has covered in a few scrapes and burns, but nothing major. He's seen Bakugo look a lot worse. And they both say how'd it go, and they both smirk at the same time. Amazing. They go home. After about a week, Deku gets his letter from All Might and Nezu saying, we didn't need to take the exam, but here's your points. We look forward to seeing you. That was it. There was literally nothing else. There was nothing else to say, Ad. Oh. Oh. Ow. 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 Oh. And, yeah, we finally cut to Deku walking into UA. He finds his classroom pretty easy as he got given a tour beforehand by Nezu. Remember, he's in there on recommendation as well. And he walks into the classroom, everyone goes silent, and immediately starts fangirling, and again, Deku isn't going to have this entire year, and he yells, shut up! I'm not some celebrity, I'm your classmate. Treat me like a classmate or you can get the fuck away from me. This is not some movie, this is not a photo shoot, this is not Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube. This is, what is YouTube? This is real life, mate. Get over yourself. I don't want to have to deal with this every single time I come into school. As soon as everyone heard this, they all started blushing. Not blushing like from embarrassment. They was blushing from embarrassment. They realised that it must have been annoying to get treated like this every single place they go. And they all apologise. Bakugo starts laughing and Deku says, shut up, you Pomeranian. Bakugo jumps up with explosion and flies towards Deku. Deku moves out of the way of one of his punches and grabs Bakugo by the face and chucks him back into his chair. And they both start laughing. The class is caught off guard by this. Damn, that's a weird friendship. And he goes, I guess you as... And he says to all of them, I recommend you to sit down. Aizawa Sensei is waiting. Aizawa sits up in his sleeping bag and says, Izuku Midoriya, I understand that you have heightened senses, but it's no fun if you ruin it. But please, sit down. All the class get caught off guard, says, a ghost. And Deku starts laughing at. He gets along well with all the teachers. He starts laughing at Aizawa saying, if they called you a ghost, I told you look like a dead old man. But after this, Aizawa just shrugs it off. And he explains how they're going to go do a fitness test. Yuraki goes, a fitness test? What about the entrance ceremony? Yawn. Aizawa says, if you was a real hero, would you rather have to go do and you was a choice between an award ceremony and saving the life of hundreds? What are you going to choose? If you choose the award ceremony, get out of my class. Hearing this humbled everybody. They realised what Aizawa meant. They're doing this. They're heroes. They're not here for entrance ceremonies. They need to use every chance to get to train in this school to be the best heroes they can be. And as such, they go outside for the fitness exam. Deku goes up first, and he gets told to chuck the ball as far as he can. And he tries to lower the percentage down. Oh. And he realises he hasn't figured out how. Yeah. Oh, sorry guys, no more yawning. And he figures out he doesn't know how to lower his percentage and control it. So he just comes up with the idea of use 100% of my front gut and chuck the rest with full strength. And that's what he does. The shockwave that blows away everyone. I mean, the shockwave blew everyone backwards. When Deku's ball left the atmosphere, bruv, he got infinity. And all the other tests, Deku got first place in absolutely everything. Bakugo and Todoroki take them time for second off and then third, but it will change in between them. And then the rest of the rankings were the same. With this, Deku gained everyone's respect, recognition, and just absolutely became a mad lad. After this, the next day comes forth, and it's All Might teaching them this time. He says this one is heroes versus villain training replication. 2 of you shall become villains and protect the bomb, and the other 2 shall be heroes and try to take this bomb away from the villains. Seeing this, Deku laughs and says, if you think about it, we're the villains to the villains and the villains are villains to us, because we're stealing from the villains, and stealing is wrong. But to the villains, they've been villains to us, so they're the villains, but we're the villains to the villains. After he says this, everyone's mind starts hurting, and they all just think, oh, start waffling, mate. But the team gets announced, it's Todoroki and Deku versus Bakugo and Ida. And as such, it begins. Todoroki says to him, I don't care about how strong Todoroki says to him, I don't care about how strong you are. You're not stronger than me. I will be the next #1 hero, not you. And Deku just walks past him, blanking him. Todoroki just says, don't get forced by it. He puts his hand on the wall and spreads ice about. Deku slams his foot down, breaking the ice. And he says, this is about causing minimal damage. You're going to cause water damage. And he says, it's no fun doing that. This is a test to show how we can fight and etc. You're just going to ruin it. And don't think you're special just because you got here on a recommendation, because so did I. Hearing this, Todoroki at first calls him a liar, saying, but you... I am so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. My audio corrupted. You're wondering this isn't a part of the movie. You're going to have to miss the ending. I apologise sincerely. I'm pretty sure you hear that where the audio corrupts. You lost about 5 minutes of this part. I am so sorry. I looked over back in editing. I fixed it in the last video, but I cannot even figure out how to fix it now. This is actually my sincerest apologies. I'll just get on to the next bit. Okay, so what I can remember from recording is All Might tested him for the fight. Blah, blah, blah. And Deku was losing, then he figured out if he just banged his head on a wall, injured himself, he got stronger and stronger, and he actually managed to send All Might flying back, but not full strength All Might. But because of this, I'm not going to edit out the explanation for the next part, what I normally do. You're going to get that whole part, what if, instead for the ending. So yeah. That's why this part, why it sounds like an episode, but it's not. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to part 3 of What If Deku Got Stronger When Hit. I already explained in the last video, so I'm not going to drag it out. I'm just going to give you a quick recap. Last time we left off, Deku inherited One For All. Realised that it was a big strength boost, like a big strength boost. But he also realised that if he was ever in a losing situation, just bang his head on the wall, which he did against All Might. And then we had the hero versus villains training. Not the USJ. The USJ will be this episode, where the class when they split up into 2 teams, one of heroes, one of villains, and the team was Todoroki and Deku versus Bakugo and Ida. Of course, Deku won after slamming Bakugo's head through the ground and then bouncing up into the final floor where Todoroki had frozen everything. But now we go back to it. You guys comment down below what you want Deku's suit to be. I'm thinking is... I'm thinking like a Goku, but in Goku black instead. So that's what Deku's costume will be. That's what I want it to be, like Goku's black. So you know how Goku has his gi? The orange and blue one. So instead of being orange and blue, it will be black for the orange and then red for the blue. That's what I'm thinking. But you guys, it's up to you completely, so comment down below what you actually want to see. And let's get straight into this. Roughly about a week has gone by. Deku's trained with One For All, and it went from him being able to use 30% to about 35, maybe 38. But Deku's realised something. When he gets a strength boost, Like when he breaks his arm using one fall, it doesn't mean that he can use a higher percentage on one fall, meaning he actually has to train. Because I know you guys were going to complain, he doesn't need to train. So he still has to do the insane training he does in the anime, even more so because how strong he is. But thankfully, remember, like I said, the UA has special like quirks that can make stuff way more and all that, so he still gets a good pump every now and then. But I am going to have him progress a lot faster, as in a week getting 8%, that's not something Deku could do. But it's going to slow down, of course, don't worry. Roughly about this week has gone by, and Deku's introduced himself more to his classmates, explained his quirk, and they all were amazed. And someone he actually got along with quite a bit better than he assumed at first was Kirishima, as they trained together quite often, as well with Bakugo. So them three became quite close, Bakugo, Deku and Kirishima, and soon enough Denki joined it. So we still have the Deku squad, but there's a separate squad, Bakugo, Kirishima, Denki and Deku. That's going to be Deku's main squad right now. They train together a lot, as Denki's quirk is insane for Deku, as even though it's not a lot of damage, it's still constant growth, and he can test out his strength on Kirishima's hardening. And this process repeating every single day has strengthened Denki's quirk. He can output a stronger amount of electricity each day, or a larger amount of electricity. He can absorb more electricity, like frying his brain, etc. Kirishima's hardening also gets harder every single day. As the blows get harder, it's like training, like where you get how boxers punch hard stuff, or martial artists punch wooden balls or certain type of boxing bags to train their knuckles to tone it, basically. So doing it every day, his hardening is getting stronger, toning to adapt. Bakugo also trains with his explosions more as Grace and Deku, seeing he's more air mobile, etc. So they're all getting steadily stronger. And finally, they get announced that they're going on a field trip to the USJ. Denki's eyes light up. He's always wanted to go to the USJ. He explains about how they have amazing training courses, real adaptability, fire, lightning, and all taught that. Hearing this, Deku gets excited, mainly because how much Denki is amping up. On the bus there, Bakugo, Kirishima, Denki, and Kirishima are playing Uno. And that's when the rest of the class starts talking to them, saying blah blah blah. You seem like you're in a group, you can come join us. Like we should, like the Deku squad without Deku in it says, oh, you should hang out with us more. And there's not really a Bakugo squad really, but they're all trying to pressure Deku into hanging out with them. And Deku, it disgusts Deku a bit. Deku isn't the same as in canon. He's more of a badass. And he gets a shiver and he goes, can you stop being some soppy bastards? I don't need to be best friends with you. I have friends and I'm happy with them. This catches them off guard, and Uraraka gets a small hatred for Bakugo. She has a massive crush on Deku. But it seems like... No, I'm not making this a gay ship, don't worry. Him and Bakugo are just childhood best friends. I have a ship set in mind, it's my favourite ship. Actually, my favourite ship is Deku versus Mina. I'm not going to lie. I don't know why, it's just I always like the idea of it. But the ship for this one is going to be one that you guys always hate, but I like making it because it just works so well. But after getting told they should shut up, even Froppiggies and Uraraka shuts their mouth. They start talking about who would be the most likely to become a pro. Everyone says, if we're being honest, the one with the most flashy quirks is Bakugo and Todoroki, maybe even Kirishima and Denki. But if it comes to being the pro, they all saw the news that, oh, Deku was so strong. They would say Deku's most likely going to be the next pro hero. Even then, most likely to be a number one. When they say this, Bakugo tries to chime in saying, no, but they arrive just in time before they get a lecture. And as such, they get off. They begin their training slightly after 13 explains it. They get there like 5 minutes early, by the way. So they do get to start their training. Deku's just doing some resistance training. He's getting slight injuries, but they're healing quick, and he's also getting slightly bit stronger each time. That's when Kirishima says, wow, this place is so realistic, they even have model villains. Hearing this, Aizawa jumps into action as he says, those aren't model villains, those are real, everyone get back. Aizawa rushes in, but Deku rushes in ahead of him. And one of the villains that had guns for fingers, Deku decks him in the face, knocking him out. Shiraka seeing this is caught off guard. That brat's strong. He's the one Master told us about. That apparently next All Might, we need to deal with him now before he becomes a serious problem. Deku plows through about 20% of the villains that Aizawa was against, until Aizawa says, go help your classmates. Now with 20% less people to fight, Aizawa has a way easier time. He takes out most of the villains. But we know what happens next. And you can hear my mum in the background, I am sorry. Yeah, you can. And I fixed it, I had to shut the door, guys, it's fine. Deku rushes over to his classmates and he sees Froppy getting attacked by water villains. He dives down just as one was about to bite a leg off. He dives down and smacks him in the head. This actually kills the villain. Deku seeing this, he isn't really phased. He thought he was holding back a bit more, but he just thinks, sort of out of my training. The same thing that happened in canon, with Deku flicking the water. He uses 1 for all for this, but only 20%, and it has the same effect. So remember, a 1 for all in this one is going to be a multiplier to Deku's normal strength, because I'm trying to find a way to make 1 for all useful, because with all my other Whatifs, I sort of forget about it. So this one is just going to multiply the strength he has, so it's still insanely useful. It's like Kaioken for Goku. The more the stronger his base form is, the stronger multiplication his transformations give him. But as such, he deals with them easily, rescuing them, and he goes around and does it for the rest of his classmates, every single one of them. Except for the ones that weren't struggling. He watched the fight a bit, and as soon as they rushed over to help Aizawa, but that's when he sees it. Aizawa's arm had been decayed, but Aizawa didn't call for help like Deku told him to. But he was handling it himself pretty well until Deku sees it. A weird big black monster sort of figure. It appears out of nowhere and slams Aizawa into the wall. Deku seeing that Aizawa won't be enough to handle this. He sprints over, just as what we know as the Nomu was about to slam Aizawa's face, killing him. Deku comes in with a massive swing kick and hitting the Nomi's face and then flying away. Shoku says, you damn brat, I thought you would have died. Them stupid villains, good for nothing, we pay him for what? Kurogiri appears, but Deku knows this ain't the time. He activates his 1 for all to 40% in his arm, and swings at Kurogiri's chest piece. He absolutely destroys the chest piece, and Kurogiri just disappears into the atmosphere. Shoku thinks, he nearly killed Kurogiri. Lucky we set up his second body at home. I'm making this up. We have to reform Kurogiri's body now. His second one's at home, his backup. He's going to be out of commission for a minimum of 20-30 minutes. Hopefully Master will repair him because I need a way out. Nomu comes up screaming at Deku. Deku thought he destroyed it, but he gets punched. This punch is the hardest punch he's ever been hit. All Might's only ever used 60% max against Deku. This was at least All Might 100%. Deku feels his arm shatter as he gets sent back flying. He winces in pain. He feels his arms heal. Power shoots throughout Deku's body. He activates 1 for all at 30%, and at a speed that no one can even keep up with. Deku appears in front of Nomu, kneeing him in his face. Shigaraki's confused. I swear his arms are broken. What is this? Now for the next 10 minutes, it was just back and forth. Punch, then hit. Punch, then get hit. Punch, then get hit. But everyone's noticing it. Deku's injuries are healing. While the Nomu, at first there was no really effect of Deku's hits. They seem to be getting stronger with each punch. Deku pushed himself up to 40% now. No, 48%. And his punch was clearly having an effect on the Nomu. Although the Nomi's regeneration was keeping up, it seemed like every single time he would hit Deku he came back stronger. Shigaraki not knowing what Deku's quirk was, but the rest of the class did. They realised Deku can win in a short battle. When it comes to a battle of attrition, Deku also wins. That is literally the perfect quirk. He can heal quick and then come back stronger. And now about 20 minutes go past. Kurogiri's body is 80% complete by All for One. So he'll be at 8%, he'll be able to come back soon. But Deku's punches are now actually blowing off the Nomu's body parts. Yes, it's healing. Finally, Ida did leave and All Might finally shows up. He sees Deku squaring off against the Nomu, and all the heroes who showed up are just in awe. The strength of the punch of that Nomu is insane. But at the same time, that kid, All Might's looking, observing it. He recognises that Nomu is probably an equal match for him. And while Deku's not stronger than it, he's clearly a lot stronger than he was a day ago. How strong did this young man become? How strong can he become? Eventually, Shigaraki screams, "Nomu, end it now!" And the Nomu disappears in a flash. Using up all its strength, it appears behind Deku and it lunges its fist. He impels Deku's stomach. sending his guts flying everywhere. Seeing this, All Might explodes with anger and dives towards Nomu, hitting it in the face hard, sending it flying away. Deku falls to his knees, holding his stomach, blood spraying out of his mouth, and All Might grabs him in tears. Yeah, Midori, you can't die. Deku's just holding on barely by a breath. He says, die. Who said I was gonna die? All Might's in pure shock. He sees Deku's injury healing, but he says to All Might, if I pass out, I will stop healing, I will die. You have to keep me awake. Deku's vision starts going blurry, but no, All Might picks him up by his head and starts shaking it about. Deku snaps back into reality, and he says, I don't know, I'm gonna heal in time. All Might says, how can we speed it up? Deku says, when I get stronger by getting hurt, my healing factor increases as well. Hearing this, All Might realises what Deku means. With pure pain, All Might's going through pain as well. He grabs Deku's arm and he shatters it. Deku screams in pain. So he wasn't going to pass out because of pain, he was passing from blood loss. Deku's used to pain by now. All Might sees it. Deku's arms heals and his injury heals quicker. His stomach is starting to patch up. Still, if he falls unconscious, he'll die. All Might continuously does it for both his arms. The onlookers going on are in distraught, complete. They're disgusted, not by what All Might's done. They understand that. They could hear the conversation at least. All Might had to do this, but they can only imagine what that brat's going through. Bakugo, knowing that he has to help, he rushes over as well. He apologises to Deku. He puts an explosion up. He heats his hand up at least, and he places it on Deku's legs. His legs are getting repeatedly burned and healing. This causes it to speed up more and more. Then Kirishima and Denki go over. Denki starts shocking Deku. Kirishima helping All Might. It's fast now. He's hoping he'll break his other bones. Deku's just screaming in pure agony, but eventually his stomach is patched up completely, and he's never felt this alive. Remember, jumping up and breaking his arm once gave Deku at least a 10 times power boost. This has happened a minimum 50 times for both arms. His legs being repeatedly burnt and broken, being constantly electrocuted to the point where Deku went stupid like twice. Denki went stupid like twice. He stands up, the Nomu who's screaming now, rushes towards Deku. Kurogiri appears just in time to get Shigaraki ready to go. Deku dodges one of the punch and throws a full power punch at 40%. He hits the Nomu, sending it flying upwards, at the same time completely obliterating the body. The roof of the USJ gets completely destroyed offwards. All Might says, that punch, that would be me at like 300, if I went to 300%, if that was even possible. What is this? The strength that Deku has right now, like I said, it would be prime All Might. It would be All Might at 100% times by 3. Pushing past his limits. That final punch to All Might through to beat the Nomu, imagine that, but way stronger. Deku is a different breed right now. And as he's looking around, he's got so strong, his body's actually changing, it's adapting. His vision's clearer. His hearing's better. Something's happening to his body. It's shutting down and turning back on. It's like it's getting restarted over and over and over again. He just doesn't know what's happening. And he falls backwards unconscious. He wakes up in hospital a week later after being in a coma for a week. His mum is next to him. Deku can see the bags under her eyes. He feels bad. His slight movements wake his mum up and she bursts out in tears, hugging him. My Izuku, you're awake. Deku hugs his mum back and says, I'm more than awake, mum, I feel better than ever. Deku goes to get up, but to his shock, he moves at insane speed and slams into the wall. Nurses rush in, including All Might, who's been waiting at the hospital in his spare time from being a hero. Deku stands up, his body's shaking. He wasn't this strong before. Deku's realised something. When his body reaches such a state of strength, he actually evolves. And I mean evolution, like, he gets stronger basically. His body's adapted to being inhuman. As it already was inhuman, but I mean more inhuman. As yes, his strength got multiplied, but that strength wasn't getting spread about the rest of his body. And finally it's happened. Deku's thought about this as it's like a game. Once you get to level 100, you rebirth. And you get back sent to level 1, but you grow quicker. Deku didn't get sent back to level 1. It's just the strength got distributed more across his body, so his punches wouldn't do as much damage, but his skin is tougher. He's a lot faster. He's still stronger than when he was before the USJ, but he's not as strong as where he blew the punch up the roof. Right now, I'd say he's about 150% of all like it all might went to 150%. That's what Deku's punches will be. But at the same time, that's for all his speed, his hearing, his sight, his smell. Every bodily function has been overpowered. Deku's body feels so light. He feels like he could fly. And he makes a joke about it. That's when it happens. Deku's body flies from the ground, shooting through the roof. The way this is going to work, so you don't get bored of this, it's just going to be repetitive. Once Deku gets such an insane boost in strength, his body goes through this rebirth. His punch and strength gets slowed, but his speed and all that gets increased. As it's quite hard for Deku to increase his speed into just his punch and strength. But his skin gets tougher, his sight, hearing, all that gets better, and he unlocks a new ability. You guys comment down below what you want the ability to be next time. This time it's going to be flight. And everyone who's watching this is just amazed. Another quirk? After Deku got sent flying through the ceiling and coming back down, he was confused, and everyone just accepted at this point. He got so strong he could fly. But a week goes past, and Aizawa announces that there will be a UA Sports Festival. And Deku gets excited. And of course, they go through the normal thing. They do a bit of training. And now, due to the metamorphosis, Deku's body can use up to 70% of one for all. But yes, he does a lot of training with Denki, Kirishima, and Bakugo, to the point where they all get at least 3 times stronger. Denki even works on a special move where he surrounds his fist in electricity and punches with them, and then for a final ultimate move, he molds his electricity to be like a dragon, and it shoots out at like its insane speeds, as well as electricity whips. Kirishima finds out that he can harden his body to a point it slips off and he can shoot it like a missile. Bakugo figures out that he can create a constant explosion and mold it into a weapon, where whatever it hits gets a few seconds and then it explodes. Deku works more on his flying combinations, and that's all really. The UA Sports Festival finally comes about, and Deku gets told what it is. I forgot what the day before the Sports Festival comes about, Monoma struts into Class 1A. So this is Class 1A, a bunch of pussies. Just you wait, when us Class 1Bs come first place and get moved into Class 1A, you shall be crying in the corner. Here in this, Bakugo jumps up and gets in Monoma's face, saying, "What you say, you blonde-headed brat?" Monoma says, "You're calling me a blonde, but look at yourself, you Pomeranian." Bakugo grabs Monoma by the collar and chucks him into the hallway, catching Monoma off guard, and he says, "How dare you, do you not know who I am?" Bakugo gives him a death stare as his explosion starts popping from his hand, and he says to Monoma, "Last chance, fuck off or get fucked up." Monoma stands up and he taps the girl that can make her hands bigger. His hands expand and he throws a punch towards Bakugo, sending him flying backwards, and he rushes in about to slam Bakugo on the ground, just for Kirishima to appear out of nowhere, block his hit effortlessly, hardening, and he says, "Yet again, I recommend you fuck off." Monoma copies this and hardens his own body, just for Denki to shoot lightning across the class and sending him flying. Monoma managed to block this, but he's getting confused. "How dare they all come at me?" Deku stands up as he was trying to sleep and he got woken up, and he says, "You strutted into our classroom, attacked one of our mates, and thought you weren't going to get jumped. We ain't outside on the hero field. This is social life, mate. You think you're going to attack someone and their mates ain't going to jump in? Now it's either you get out or we're all going to jump you and stamp you out." Monoma laughs and says, "You think I'm really on my own?" Tetsu, the metal guy, the vine girl, I forgot her name, I'll look it up in a minute, and the one who can make their body bits all step in. And as such, Bakugo, Denki and Kirishima stand next to them. All their classes are telling them to calm down, but Deku's laughing. He activates 1 full at 10% to get electricity flowing. He does this to throw Monoma off guard, to make him think that, his quirk is electricity. Monoma slaps him and attempts to use his quirk. He can't get every time you get hurt, you get stronger, by the way, because he can only copy one quirk at a time, and Deku's one for all is the one that he takes. Monoma activates it, and he throws a punch. We all know what happens. Monoma has nothing stockpiled in his quirk, and the punch does nothing to Deku. He laughs, and he thinks, damn it. He taps to go with Vine, and Vine shoots out of his arm, flying towards him. Todoroki descends a wall of fire, a wall of ice. And he says, get out of my class. Deku looks at Todoroki and says, don't get involved. And he clicks his neck. He says to everyone behind him, Bakugo, Kirishima, Denki, don't get involved, mine. And they all laugh and go back to their seats. Monoma thinks, you're a bit cocky, ain't you? He gets roundhoused by Deku, sending him flying out of the classroom. The one with big hands throws a slap, and Deku throws a slap back, overpowering her as well. Tetsu turns from the stool and he rushes at Deku. Deku eats the punch. He actually cracked one of his ribs, but Deku shows no pain. And he actually gets stronger. He grabs Tetsu by his face and picks him up and slams him into the ground. And as he's on top of him, Tetsu's blocking, but Deku's throwing a punch. One punch didn't really do much. He amps up to 20% and he throws another one. This time, his arms start cracking. And he picks him up again and gets booted out of the window. Tetsu survives this easily, of course, he's metal. And he stands in front of Monoma and says, see you at the exam. Because if you get in my way, I'll end your career. And he just walks off laughing. Monoma runs away, pissing himself. And the UA Sports Festival begins the next day. It gets announced that it is a race, and Deku gets excited. He activates 20% of one for all, full cow, and he begins running as it starts. He looks to his left and right. He's lowered his speed a lot so he can see what his classmate can do, still keeping a steady lead. All his class accepted the fact that Deku was coming first, but they appreciated him not embarrassing them. Deku saw the robots and just with a wave of a fist blew one away, then the wave of it next, and then again, then again, then again, then again. And I forgot how strong I made Deku. Let's just say Tetsu, he was using 2% of one for all. Sorry, I forgot how strong I made him when he was fighting against class 1B. But now he's using roughly about 20%. And he's easily just blown all these robots away. The entire audience recognises him as the next All Might. And they all think the same thing. He lives up to that title by now. He looks just as strong as All Might, if not stronger. Some of the pro heroes are mumbling, saying, damn it, there goes to our rankings. And yeah, I thought I got a chance to move up. But we can't get a higher spot. We might as well become associated with the next number one. Now at this point already, all the heroes have made the mind. They're going to apply it. They're going to want Deku at their apprenticeship. But Endeavor watching this is just pissed. He has a vein bulging. How dare she take the spotlight from Shoto? Sorry guys, I'm actually really ill. But Deku speeds up a bit and he yells to his class he'll see them later. That's when he's caught off guard. Denki appears next to him and he smiles at Denki saying, you're using your electricity for your speed. About time you figured it out. Denki, who's sweating, says, yeah, but this draining my stamina. Deku looks him up and down and says, how about instead of let electricity flow outside of you, compact it inside you? Denki thinks about this and does exactly as he's told. All of a sudden, the massive strain in his stamina disappears and he speeds up, even flying past Deku. That's when it happens. Kirishima comes out of nowhere riding a robot. He's dug his hardening hands into it and he's controlling it, making it go insanely fast. And Bakugo's just flying over with explosions. Deku laughs and says, better than I thought. He speeds up ahead of Denki, still technically was in the lead. Denki seeing this is just out of breath, saying, how did you catch up? I thought I was faster than you at that point. And Deku smiles at him saying, I'm using about 4% of my power. Seeing this, Denki goes as white as a ghost and says, God damn it. They get to the point where they need to jump over the massive gaps, and he says to all of them, I'll see you at the end. He jumps over it in one leap. The crowd goes wild, and he carries on running. He sees all the landmines and he decides he ain't gonna get in the way of them. He jumps over them all again, landing at the finish. Deku then begins to fly. The audience goes crazy. What? He can fly? What is his quirk? And he flies over to watch the rest. He's impressed. Denki has made insane progress as he's sprinting along that large wire with perfect balance. But Kirishima has just made the robot jump. And Bakugo flew over it. They're now both neck and neck. As Denki's run out of stamina mostly, and he had to slow down. And he says, "Damn it, Denki, you're trying to compete with me for no reason." But then he sees it. His eyes can barely, he doesn't know what he sees, but he sees the energy in the surroundings get absorbed into Denki, and he says, "Damn, I think he might be the next number 2 hero." If you're wondering, yes, I do like Denki quite a bit as a character. I like his quirk, and I think he gets too much hate, so I am going to make him pretty strong. And as they get to the final leap with the landmines, it happens. Denki, all the energy in the surrounding is absorbed into Denki, and it's almost like he entered Godspeed, which Killer will do. And in a flash, he appears at the end. Bakugo and Kirishima, who are watching this, were just in utter shock. And Bakugo as well, I was trying to be nice, but I lost my number 2 spot because of it. And he amps up his explosion to their max, and he flies towards the end as well. Kirishima digs his fist into the robots, and it explodes. He flies towards the end as well. Then it's Todoroki next, so that it was Deku first place. Sorry if you guys had that. Sorry if you guys had that. It's Game Watch my sister. But Deku in first, Denki in second, Bakugo in third, Kirishima in fourth, Todoroki in fifth. We then go on to the next event with Deku with his 10 million points. We all already know the teams. Denki, Kirishima, Bakugo, and Deku are the teams. Deku was of course on top, and it begins. As people were circling towards them, Denki with even better control now would mix an electric circle around them. If anyone goes into it, they'll get shocked. Kirishima hardens, and he creates some projectiles. He scrapes off his hardening, and he makes like a sort of headband which covers up the original headband, which is quite impressive. Then Bakugo is sending them flying about using his explosions. And Deku laughs, he wants to try something. He grabs them all, and he begins to fly. They start flying around while Bakugo is speeding them up with their explosion. Everyone watching this is just absolutely shocked. We can't even, they're flying. Deku's headband's getting covered by hardening, and we can't even enter their radius without getting shocked. That's not fair. Seeing this, Todoroki just scoffs at everyone, saying it's not fair, and he sends a massive ice spike towards them. Deku makes them fall down to the ground and stop him flying, and he pulls out his fist, and he punches the ice spike flying towards them, sending a shockwave. Todoroki gets pissed, saying, "Damn it, he's stronger than I thought he'd be." Todoroki waves his fist about, and massive ice spikes fly towards Deku. Deku just slapping him away easily without any effort at all. And at one point, Kaminari or Denki increases the electric volt around them to the point where Deku doesn't even need to slap him. The electricity fries the ice. Ida comes in running with the squad: Tokiyami, Yuraka, Ida, and the support girl. And he attempts a kick, but the electricity fries him and he falls down. They get disqualified. This continues to happen where the only squads left are Todoroki. This continues to happen with everyone until enough people get disqualified where they can move on. And of course the teams are the same as last time, except without... I'm just going to keep going. We now get to the final fights. First off, it's Shino versus Deku. Deku has no clue what Shino's quirk is, and he asks Deku a question. Deku answers it and he gets put in mind control. Deku's walking, but he keeps on stopping and starting. He's fighting against Shino's mind control of his own will, and he gets halfway to the end where he finally sees it. The mysterious shadow figures make him activate one for 100% in his fingers, breaking his fingers of course, but sending a massive shockwave. And I mean massive, like 100 million times stronger than before. Of course that's an exaggeration, but the shockwave that happened caused Shino to get blown out of the arena, and Cement Man having to activate his walls to protect the audience. Everyone seeing this goes crazy. What amazing power from this young man. And then next we get Bakugo versus Kirishima. It begins. Bakugo is just flying about with his explosions, and he jumps in the air and dives down. Kirishima activates his hardening, getting hit by the brunt of Bakugo's massive explosions. Bakugo, seeing that this technique isn't going to work, he then dives towards Kirishima with an explosion speeding up. He creates a katana of explosions, and he ducks it away and slices. The concentration of this heat is enough to break Kirishima's hardening, creating a massive explosion at the same time. Kirishima feels his side and he feels a bit of blood. He thinks, damn it, I have to get harder, stronger, unbreakable. Kirishima enters his red right unbreakable mode. He's never showed this to anyone, and Bakugo, not realising what it is, dives down. He slashes Kirishima with the blade. Nothing happens. He gets hit hard in the stomach, sending him flying backwards. Kirishima can keep up his unbreakable mode for like a minute straight, and he rushes towards Bakugo. No matter what, he wasn't getting phased by any of Bakugo's hits. It was Bakugo getting slapped around like a little bitch. Until 10 seconds, 9, 8, 7, 6, and it gets to the last 3 seconds as Kirishima was pushing Bakugo to the end. Just before he got to the start line, Kirishima's hardening wore off, and Bakugo took that as his chance. He amped up an explosion, and he launched it. Kirishima, who was barely conscious at this point, got sent flying out of the arena. Deku, seeing this, begins giggling. Next, it was Deku versus Todoroki. This fight goes a lot different. All them little ice shots that Todoroki was flying at Deku, Deku was slapping them away with ease without even activating one for all. And he begins flying. He flies directly towards and in between all the ice spikes. And I'm not gonna lie, this fight ain't gonna do nothing like it did in canon. And he yells at Todoroki, why are you being such a fanny? Let me guess, it's because your father was a monk. It's your quirk, not his, mate. What are you doing? You're just so childish. You want to make a point to your father, so you're going to make yourself seem weak. Ain't that just being a little pussy? And the Todoroki gets pissed and flames appear. And he goes, so it's my quirk? Then I'll kill you with it. He sends a massive flame at Deku, but Deku just dodges out of the way. And he begins flying down towards him. And he throws a massive punch, knocking Todoroki out. That was it. Next was Denki versus Bakugo. And this fight went crazy. Denki activated Godspeed straight away and was blitzing around. But Bakugo used his explosions on defense. When he was about to get hit, instead of launching an explosion to attack, he created one that Denki would hit that instead. This was a great matchup. This fight was going to be epic. Bakugo created a constant explosion on his fist, not a blade. He created it sort of like a jet, and all of a sudden he disappeared at insane speeds. Only Deku could really keep up with this. Denki and Bakugo were moving at insane speeds. Well, yes, Denki's reaction time was enhanced by his quirk, Bakugo wasn't. So in reality, Bakugo was moving around like a speed and bullet without really any control of what he was doing. But luckily enough, that worked for him. At one point, he was going to spin out of control, so he ended up started spinning like a missile, and he spun back around and hit Denki hard in the stomach. But Denki had been waiting for this. He releases all the electricity that he had stored up onto the Bakugo who just hit him, and Bakugo got fried. This was enough to knock him out, but Denki was barely standing on his own. Yes, Bakugo got knocked unconscious by this amazing electricity outburst, but Denki had used up most of his energy and he fell unconscious as well, but he won. Well, now I'll move on to the final fight, bun the other ones. Well, actually, before the final fight, it was Deku versus Monoma. And this fight went pretty weird. It begun. Monoma ran at Deku and attempted to slap him and steal his quirk, but we all know this doesn't work. Monoma realised he was the worst matchup for Deku ever. And he begins to panic. Deku starts laughing and chasing him around the arena, slapping him like a bitch, backhand, front hand, kneeing him in the face, slamming him. Monoma tries to give up, but Deku starts punching him before he could. 1 punch, 2 punch, 3 punch, 4. How many times are you gonna get slapped up doors? Until eventually Monoma was left disfigured and he gave up. I just needed to get that in. We now go to Denku being recovered by Recovery Girl and other people who restore stamina just for plot. And the fight begins. Deku rushes at Denki, who's in his own God mode form. They're both moving at the same speed. I'm saying right now, when Denki's in his God mode form, oh my god, sorry, that drink went down the wrong hole. When Denki's in his God mode form, he is faster than All Might, so this fight is going crazy. They're both moving at insane speeds, but Deku is clearly landing more hits. While each hit he lands, he's getting shocked by Denki, but it isn't really affecting him. Just making him stronger. And each punch, Denki is feeling his ribs break, his bones break. And he pulls his arm up towards the sky and he slices downwards. This sends a massive electrical blade at Deku. He barely moves out of the way. He loses his finger and he starts shaking it, screaming. He's like, Denki, you bastard, I'm gonna kill you. Denki starts laughing, knowing that Deku can heal from this. And of course he does. But while Denki's laughing, Deku appears in front of him and nails his chin. Denki loses consciousness for a few seconds, but thankfully, electricity jolts him awake. He gets sent flying back upwards, just to get punched again. Deku realised the weakness in Denki's move. Yes, while in God mode he cannot be knocked out when he can, but he'd be shocked awake. He was in a stage where he was vulnerable. And after getting him knocked out like 10 times, Deku just slapped him out of the arena, saying, it was a good fight, Denki, but you need to work. Yes, you have the speed, but you don't have the technique. But now, in this What If, we're going to go to their apprenticeships. A few weeks after the UA festival, Deku got his apprenticeships, but it was quite a weird option. It was an apprenticeship at UA. Deku immediately went to Nezu to ask about it, and he says, well, you've shown strength on parts not superior to All Might. Keeping you in school would be just a waste. When with All Might activity going down, crime goes up. But if you came on the scene, crime, I feel like it wouldn't even be below 10%. I believe it would be below 5%. So what I'm asking you, with UA signing you, sponsoring you with any amount of money you need, would you want to become a licensed hero, as well as be able to keep your education full time, instead of an apprenticeship? Hearing this, Deku immediately agrees, as long as he can use the name Phoenix. Nezu asks, why do you want Phoenix? And he says, well, because no matter how much you beat me down, I always come back stronger. Hearing this, Nezu smiles and says, that's an amazing name. While this happens, everyone else gets their regular apprenticeship, except for Bakugo. Bakugo does an apprenticeship with All Might himself. But due to this, so Deku begins working as a hero. He keeps it small at first, keeping a mask on, as he doesn't want everyone to know his identity, as it would put his family at risk. But he gets released on the scene as the new hero Phoenix. He immediately starts blitzing through all the villains, and the one he's on the hunt for mostly is Stain, as Stain caused an insane injury to Ida's older brother, but thankfully it missed his spine. So although for the next few months he's going to have trouble walking, a year max he'll be able to run and do his hero work as he did before. But he had a feeling that Ida was also hunting for him as well, so he always kept his phone ready. It was now a cold winter's night. Well, it was the end of winter, as the spring breeze was coming. Deku was jumping from roof to roof. He'd stopped 5 villains tonight already. The night's pretty city silent, until with his enhanced senses he smelt blood, and his phone rang with Ida's location in the direction that he smelt blood. In a flash, Deku appeared above the spot, flying, and he looked down and he saw that Stain was about to behead Ida. He screamed, "Don't you dare, you bastard!" And he dove down, smashing Stain's head into the concrete. He looked around and saw one of the other heroes seriously injured, and he told Ida to attend to that. He's going to deal with this. Ida at first said no, but Deku gave him a death stare, saying, keep in mind that Ida didn't recognise Deku, and he pulled off his mask, showing his face, giving him a death stare, saying, "You put yourself and others in danger for your grudge, for revenge. You're lucky I don't report this, Ida. Now do what you're told and help save a hero's life like you should." Seeing his face, Ida says, "You're already a pro hero." Never mind, you're right. I apologise. Biting his lip, Ida begins to attend to the other pro hero. He puts his mask back on, and Stain starts laughing. "So you're the new hero on the scene, Phoenix. Let's see if you're truly worthy of the rank of a pro hero." Stain swings his blade at Deku, and Deku barely moves out the way, catching the blade himself and swings it back round at insane speeds, and I mean with such force it caused the air blade to appear. Stain dodges this and he's caught off guard. How strong can this new hero be? Deku appears in front of him and slashes Stain's stomach. Stain winces, but he manages to steal his sword back. And he goes, "You bastard, let me show you my true power." Stain licks his own blood, and Deku can see Stain's face bulge. He's done a bit of research about Stain the hero killer. This seems to be unknown to most, but his quirk is, if he digests your blood, he can paralyze you, but if he digests his own, his strength gets multiplied by every drop he takes. And he just took a mouthful, so it was at least 50 times stronger. But thankfully, the multiplication he gets is the second he's paralyzed the next. So after this wears off, it'll only last about 2 minutes, but after it wears off, he'll be paralyzed for 50 seconds. Stain rushes at Deku with his blade, and Deku moves again and again and boots him upwards, now activating one foot at 20%. This was more than enough. Stain gets sent flying through building after building while Deku flies towards him, picking him up by his throat, slamming him into the ground, chucking him into the air, appearing above him, holding him in the air flying. And he says, "Give me one good reason I shouldn't drop you while you stand." Stain goes, "Because you're a hero." Deku gives him a blank look, saying, "I'm a hero, so what? My job is to save citizens." "You're lucky the only reason you don't die is because I believe there's some redemption in you." Seeing his Stain's life flash before his eyes, the abuse, the neglect, all that seemed to go away when he looked into this boy's eyes. But one thing you notice, he says, Stain laughs and says, "You're a student at UA, aren't you?" Deku drops Stain and backs up a bit, but catches him before he hits the ground. Stain goes, "I can tell by your eyes, they're young." Deku laughs and takes off his mask, and he says, "The saying, I'ma treat you with honour. I'm not gonna end someone's career as famous as the hero killer with hard in my face." Stain laughs and says, "Maybe you truly are the next All Might. I recognise your face. Maybe you are the next true hero. It'd be your honour to be ended at your hand." Deku laughs and he puts his finger up and flicks. Stain gets hit by this air blast, but it doesn't mean he was caught off guard. Deku appears in front of him and Stain slices him. He thought that this would be enough to cut off Deku's arm, but it made a deep cut, but nowhere near to cut off his arms. So Deku had hardened skin, harder muscles, so he jumps backwards, but Stain has his blood. Stain paralyzes Deku and he falls backwards on his back. Although Deku's paralysed, he can still use his fly, but he's going to keep the secret. Stain begins walking towards him with his blade ready, saying, "You are strong. If I didn't get that lucky blow, I believe I would have lost tonight. To do you the honour, I'm going to end your life quick." Deku laughs and said, "In my life, you won't get the chance." The same way if you watch One Punch Man, when Genos activates his booster to stand up well quick, Deku does it with his fly and he headbutts Stain. Now with that insane strength boost he got from his arm nearly being cut off, Stain gets sent flying backwards. Deku using flight to manipulate his body like it was telekinesis. He starts moving his body about, saying, "It's not convenient, but I can still move." Stain is confused. He can clearly see that Deku is paralysed, but he can still move, and he says, "I get it, you can fly. So you're making your body float and using it. That's the most impressive thing I've seen in ages." Before they even got the chance to continue the fight, a fireball cut appears from behind him. Deku flies upwards and it hits Stain directly. He sees Todoroki. Stain managed to cut this massive blast of fire with his blades, still with that strength boost, and he says, "Damn it, if I want to fight against this brat, I'm going to need to..." Before he can even finish his sentence, Deku sees a Nomu fly into a building, then another, then hundreds if not thousands of Nomus flying in the sky. And he says, "Damn it, Stain, don't move." Stain laughs and says, "Move? I'm helping ya." Stain drinks more of his blood. Deku recognises it as Stain's final move. His strength gets times by 10,000, but after which he won't be able to move for a month. Stain disappears in a flash, decapitating one of the Nomus, and they begin working together. Deku by now had destroyed over 200 Nomus by the time Endeavor arrives. He just sees the bodies everywhere. Deku had his mask book on at this rate, and he says, that's the new hero Phoenix. Although he's not my level, I can see why everyone's calling him a future top 10. That's what Phoenix's nickname is right now, not that it's normal at the future top 10. But he also sees Stain. He's confused, but he's not gonna hurt someone he's not gonna destroy someone who's keeping the citizen safe. He's just gonna watch him so he can get him before he gets away. Everyone begins taking down Nomus, and unlike Canon where this was a massive panic, not one individual in the public is hurt. With Deku there, he's blitzing through all the Nomus, and this catches Shigaraki off guard. He had no clue how strong Deku had become. From that brat who could barely fight off one Nomu before, to be able to do this, what is he? Deku then activates one thought of 30%, and there was about 200 Nomus flying towards him. He focuses all his strength into a massive punch. The shockwave was enough to obliterate all the Nomu that were left. Shigaraki begins running away, but not before Deku appears in front of him, snapping his arm and punching him in the throat. This destroys Shigaraki's vocal cords, and he begins coughing up blood. The one thing Deku could recognise is kill. But before Deku could finish the job, Kurogiri manages to appear out of nowhere and saves Shigaraki. Due to this, Deku makes a promise to himself. Next time I see him, he's dead. And he's asking, due to all for one, Shigaraki knows Phoenix's true identity as Deku. A week goes past, and thankfully, no one was hurt. Not at all. And I'm gonna speed up the plot a bit, guys, because why not? What was that? One sec, guys, I need to go listen to that. And I'm back, guys, sorry. And so they're in their classroom, and Aizawa says to them, you were supposed to have your final entrance exams to gain your hero licenses, but that has been postponed, as we're now going on a training mission. We're going to go to this forest where my fellow colleagues work. And everyone screams, yes, class trip. And as such, they go on their way. By the time they arrive there, Deku gets off the bus, and he sees a small boy with a red hat, and he goes over to him and shakes his hand. He punches Deku in the balls, but Deku is not phased, and he picks him up by his collar, not hurting him, and he picks him up with ease, saying, brat, you got balls in you, mate. Train hard, maybe you can be the next top 10. He drops him. Kota sort of idolizes Deku at this point. After his parents died, everyone stepped on eggshells or walked on eggshells around him. This kid had no care at all. Bakugo was dying of laughter after he watched that brat just punch Deku and walk off. And everyone else, all the girls there were blushing a bit, saying he just got punched down there and you didn't feel it. What kind of monster has he got? Anyway, they get introduced and they get told to explain their training. Their training is going to be get through this forest easy. And they have 6 hours so they don't get food. They rush through the forest, and that's when all the monsters appear. Most of the class 1A freaks out, except for Bakugo, Kirishima, Denki, and Deku. Bakugo with ease creates a massive explosion, absolutely obliterating one. And Deku looks at him and says, so that's what I might train you to do. Train your muscles and your bones so you can create bigger explosions without any drawback. Bakugo smiles and says, yeah, you figured it out. Kirishima comes in with a new technique. He moulded his hardness to create a blade, and he dived down, absolutely cut one of the other monsters and one of them monsters in half. Denki just shoots a massive ball of lightning at another, and they all laugh. Bakugo and Deku begin flying, but Denki says, you're not leaving me behind. He generates electricity to the point where it's levitating off the ground. And Kirishima said, really? I'm gonna make a bit of an arsepool right now, but Kirishima moulds the hardener on his back, and he's taking a deep breath. So all of a sudden, air begins propelling from his back like a jetpack. Deku's curious, and he asks Kirishima, and he's like, well, as long as I'm breathing, I can propel concentrated air out of my back to fly, although it does drain my stamina. They all fly to the ending, with Deku getting there first, Bakugo getting there second, Denki third, and Kirishima fourth. All the teachers there are caught off guard, saying, "You got here in a matter of 10 minutes. How?" Aizawa especially saying, "Denki, Kirishima, you shouldn't be able to fly." They explain their training, and Aizawa actually smiles. These are the first students he's had in years that took this initiative on their own to improve their quirks in such a way. But anyway, they get their food, of course, and they all go asleep. Until Deku's woken up by the smell of fire. He looks out his window to see Aizawa fighting someone with blue flames, and seeing that Aizawa's about to lose, he flies down and absolutely decapitates this person just to see their body turn to clay. Aizawa faints Deku as he weren't sure if he was going to get out of that unscathed. They then see the same blue fire appear all over the forest. All Class 1A runs out to help until Deku hears that Kota's gone missing. He flies up to the sky and he looks around. His heart drops. He can see Kota, but he can see a big guy with blonde hair marching towards him. He can sense the killing intent. Deku flies at full speed, I'm telling you, and gets to just before he smashes Kota. Damn, beautiful! He manages to get Kota out the way just in time, and with pure rage, he spins around Team Muscular and right hooks him in the face, breaking Muscular's jaw and some of his teeth. He then gets Kota to safety, putting him to the back a bit, still holding Muscular by the throat, and he chokeslams him. Muscular tries giving Deku a lecture about how he's nothing compared to him, but Deku tightens his grip on Muscular's throat, attempting to crush his esophagus. Muscular spits out blood and activates his quirk just in time to smack Deku off him. He's holding his throat, he can barely get his words out properly with his throat being all bruised off and damaged, and he goes, "You brat, I'm gonna tear you to shreds." Deku smirks at him and says, "You're gonna tear me to shreds? I'm gonna rip you apart limb by limb. But first, you know your nails? They're gone. You see that other eye you have left? Gone. And then by the time you're begging for your life, I'm not gonna end your suffering. I'm gonna keep it going. That quirk seems to include muscle. What if I rip every little strand of muscle off your arm one by one? Then maybe, just maybe, I'll let you die." Hearing this gives Muscular the shivers. This kid's meant to be a hero. He's speaking worse than a villain does. Muscular laughs and says, "You should become my apprentice." Deku appears in front of him, kicking him hard in his nose, sending him flying backwards. Muscular amps up his quirk to fall and smashes the ground. It absolutely obliterates the mountain, but Deku catches Kota flying. He's holding Kota on one arm and continues fighting. Kota begins screaming, but he suddenly realises that Deku's actually holding his own with ease. With one hand, Deku's moving faster than Muscular can keep up with and hitting harder than Muscular can. And 1 punch, 2 punch, 3 punch, 4. The actual Muscular's arms becoming visibly bruised, destroyed. And then Deku drops Kota after he breaks both of Muscular's kneecaps, his legs. Muscular lays there without being able to move. Deku rips through his muscle fibre and snaps his spine. Muscular's now paralysed. Deku with a big smirk on his face. Kota explained to him that Muscular killed his parents. Deku walks over to him and asks Kota if he wants to join. Deku grabs one muscle fibre and tears it. Muscular screams. Deku does it one by one. Kota walks over and does the same thing, but he stops after a few of them. Not being able to handle it is his stomach, but he felt like he just got revenge for his parents. And Deku kept his promise. One by one he tore out of all of Muscular's muscle fibre, until his arms were literally just flabby skin and bone. At this point Muscular had passed out from sheer pain, and Deku trips up his empty husk of a body, and dashes him across the world, at least to the camp. He gets back to the camp, and he sees everyone in tears, and they tell him Bakugo got kidnapped. Hearing this, Deku snapped. He flew up into the sky, and flew around the world 3 times in the span of a few seconds, till he could finally sense Bakugo. It was We heard that, it's my mom. Shigaraki was giving Bakugo the lecture about becoming a villain, and Bakugo was just laughing at him, saying, "You think I'm going to be a villain?" As Shigaraki releases Bakugo from his restraints, before Bakugo even gets to send an explosion off, Deku appears, kicking twice hard in the face and then flying, dodging Toga's knife slash, and actually stabs her in the stomach. He grabs Shigaraki's arm and rips it out of his shoulder blade, and then yet again rips it until it's fully off, and he spins it and slaps Shigaraki down. Kurogiri appears and Deku throws one punch, destroying his main body, and then the second one, Kurogiri is dead. Deku is just in a blood rage. Bakugo calms him down and says, calm down, Deku, calm down, we're heroes. Deku snaps out of it, and seeing that Bakugo is okay, he takes a deep breath. And he says to all of them, I'm gonna allow you this once. Next time we meet, you're dead. And Deku flies up with Bakugo, returning to UA.
If you're wondering where I did a recap on the next bit, I know I keep interrupting the movie, this is going to be the last time. But
when he finally got in there, he thought Shigaraki was about to decay him. He runs in there, boots Shigaraki in the back of the head, grabs him by his arm and rips his arm off. Shut up! And then twice, she rushes at him. Deku ducks down and launches his fist up, actually piercing his hand through twice his chest, killing him. Then Kurogiri attempts to teleport them out of there, not before Deku could... Sorry guys, I'm actually getting really annoyed. Shut up. Oh, it's a YouTuber, guys, I'm just saying. But, yes. Then, what is it? Then Kurogiri attempts to teleport them out of it, but Deku destroys his main body and then his secondary body, absolutely killing Kurogiri. Before he got a chance to get to the other members of the lead, Bakugo calmed him down, saying, Deku, we're heroes. We don't need to kill villains every single time. Deku takes a deep breath and says to all of them, you're lucky, he said, to stop, or you would have all been on your deathbed in the next 10 seconds. But next time we meet, he won't be there to stop me, and you will all be dead. And tell your little master that when I next see him is on site. I don't care, he can be scrapping all mate, I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna disembowel that ugly fucking bastard. And he leaves. Now a week has gone past and Deku's been on edge, so he's just been relentlessly training. And I mean training where it's even not healthy. He's getting Bakugo, all them not to send him ruthless, their full power attacks at him, and he's just eating them and going through with his training. He's doing his workouts, his martial art training, while Denki's going full voltage. It like shocks at him. And if you're wondering why I've made Denki so strong, it's because he's constantly pushing his quirk to the limit, using it on Deku to make Deku stronger. And therefore he's constantly getting stronger at an insane rate. As if this was normal, Denki wouldn't be bothered. But he's very close with Deku and he's doing this out of his pure friendship. And eventually he began liking the power he was getting, so now it's been beneficial for both of them. And as such, we now go to the Saturday of the week. Deku went home to see his mother, and he told her about how he's worried something's going to go wrong. His heart's been pounding all week. And she looks at him and just smiles and says, Izuku, it's fine. You always used to say the exactly same thing to me, but nothing ever happened. That's what happened. An emergency alarm got set off in the news. They heard the sonars, the sirens going off in the sky. It means a villain's been attacking, a big one as well. He turned on the news and he sees All for One versus All Might, the final showdown. This will decide whether villains reign supreme or whether the heroes yet again come out on top, protecting the society we know and love. When he sees this, Deku's heart drops, not out of fear, out of pure hatred for All for One. He attempts to leave, but his mother begs him to stay. Don't go, that's the number one villain, please stop. He looks his mother in the eye with the most confidence. This reassures her and he says, Mother, I promise you, I will be fine. Deku disappears in a flash and his mother's heart drops. She thinks, my baby boy, he's gonna get hurt. Deku is not bothered though. And he begins to to fly towards her. As he gets there, he sees Denki, Bakugo and Kirishima all watching. He flies down to them saying, I'm getting involved if I need her watching my back. They'll try to stop him, but they know he wouldn't be able to. They fly in just as All Might was about to get his weak spot here. Deku comes in and he decks All for One as hard as he can in the face, flying with him, picks them up into the sky. He's screaming in his face, I told you little minions to tell you if I see you it's on sight. Very brave of you to show your face in public like this, thinking I won't come and beat the shit out of you. All for One says, For here you have no honor. I thought you'd let me fight 1v1. Deku laughs. Honor? You've killed millions of people. Who gives a fuck about honor? I should tear you limb from limb where you stand. Deku, instead of flying upwards, flips downwards and flies full speed at the ground. All for One tries desperately to blow Deku off, but he's eating every little thing he does. Even when Deku's heart got impaled, it healed quicker than he could die. And he slams All for One down, creating a massive crater. All Might, who was watching this, rushes in, thinking maybe Deku was hurt. He just sees Deku holding One for All down, pummeling him. All Might knew this was a chance to never get again. He jumps in with Midoriya. Midoriya chucks him upwards for All Might to come in with a 100% smash and punches him. That's when Deku activates One for All at 100%. Deku's now at the strongest he's ever been in his life. The ground he stepped on is melting from the pure energy radiating off him. All for One had a quirk that could check an enemy's power level. When he looked at Deku, his heart dropped. All for One himself was in about 1.5 billion. Deku just had his zeros was not stopping. Seeing this, All for One knew that he was outclassed no matter what he could do. That kid is a monster. He was first thinking, where could that Brett come from? How come All Might have gone to him before me? If I got to him, I'd be able to rule the world with ease. But most importantly, even if Shigaraki takes over as my successor, I won't be able to stop him. The only chance is to steal his quirk. Before All for One can even get a finger upwards, Deku appears in front of him and he slaps him. The pure force that Deku slaps him with rips the skin off All for One's cheeks, showing his ugly face. Deku laughs and he pulls out two fingers and he jabs him in All for One's empty eye sockets. And he picks him up by this. All for One's screaming now, but it's all part of his plan. He wraps around Deku and begins to steal his quirk. Deku can feel his energy fading from him, but who gives a flying fuck? He feels his enemy's energy fade and come back. The power boost he's getting from this is insane. As in what My Hero Academia, this isn't asked for, by the way. When someone loses their quirk, they get put close to death. But for some reason, All for One doesn't have enough power. Deku's quirk overpowers him that much, All for One can't steal it. But every single time he tries to, Deku's power is getting times by 10. All for One is seeing this and he's panicking. The zeros are just increasing each time by an insane amount. And Deku's just smiling. He grabs All for One's wrist and he crushes it with ease. I mean, the bone gets disintegrated. And he boots him in the stomach, sending him flying backwards. He's then marching towards him with a smug look on his face. And he says, "This is for the millions of people you killed." He punches him once. There was a literal earthquake. "This is for all the innocent kids you've manipulated." He pulls up a vent and punches him again. "This is for all my successors." He puts his fists together and he swings them back and slams them back down into All for One's face. Then he spits on him and says, "This is for every single person you've done wrong or caused fear." He sends punch after punch after punch after punch. At this point, All for One must be dead. If it weren't for his healing work, he'd be dead years ago. Well, technically he would be dead years ago if it weren't for some of his quirks, but you get what I mean. He would be dead as from the first punch. It's gotten to the point that All for One has forgotten about his ideology, saying, "Please, I'm begging you, stop. I'm sorry. I'll go to Tartarus. I'll do anything. Just stop. I'll give up my quirk. I'll do anything. Just stop doing this to me." You like my acting, guys? Deku does not give a damn. He has shown no mercy. He keeps on punching him till the audience looks away. And before he gets to fire the final punch, All Might grabs him and says, "Midoriya, stop." Deku grabs All Might by the collar and pulls him down to the ground with him and says, "This man has killed millions. He killed your master. And you're just gonna let him get away and get put in prison." All Might says it's part of being a hero. Deku snaps and not like hurt him, but he starts screaming. Like he amplifies his voice with One for All. He screams, "This is what I believe is wrong with the Hero Society, and the Hero Killer Stain can agree. As a society, every single time instead of giving villains what they should get, we just put them in prison and they break out a year or two later just to kill again, commit the same crimes. And then we want to whine about how they always get away, people are dying. So I'm coming in now. As you can all see, I'm probably the strongest creature to ever walk on this earth. I'm changing the law of this world. Villains watching this now, of course there's some exceptions. If you're just being robbers, of course you're going to put in prison. But if you're killing people, expect to be killed back, not painlessly. Expect to be tortured to your final breath. I do not mean this to scare you. I don't care if you look at me as a villain. I'm sick and tired of them just getting a slap on the wrist. How many villains have escaped from the world's most secure prison in this last year? 10? And what have they done to do? Yes, by the time we saved them, sure, maybe 100 people were saved. By the time they were released, due to the rage of being locked up, 1,000 were killed. From now on, I'm not saying other heroes have to, but if I catch a murderer, he's getting murdered. If I see someone rob, then he's gonna get put in prison. If I see a child abuser, I'm gonna scar him for life. If it's a nonce, he's getting castrated and killed. No, he's getting castrated and we're gonna put him in prison with the rest of them. No more separating them. We're gonna let the prisoners do their work. As he's giving this speech, half the population is thinking, what? No. But the half of them is green. They're cheering. They all thought the same thing. How are we just going to put them in prison and let them get out and do the same thing? Eventually, as more of the people watching starts cheering, the rest of them are agreeing. Eventually, it's a unanimous decision. They're all cheering, Phoenix, Phoenix, Phoenix. They're all agreeing this new law. Even some of the heroes who have been thinking the same thing the past few years, especially Hawks and Endeavour, start agreeing with him, applauding him. All Might hearing this, he grits his teeth and says, I think I made a mistake choosing you as my successor. This pisses Deku off, and he slaps All Might across the battleground. He looks at All for One and he stamps him out. He grabs All Might grab a collar, whose now jaw is broken. He starts screaming in his face. Do you really? So you're telling me you're gonna let the man who killed your master leave, and then escape prison again? All them lives that happen, that they take when they escape, because you decide to put them in prison, they're on your hands, All Might. I used to have the most respect for you. Now I look at you with disgust. I could spit in your face. Hearing this, All Might's holding back his tears. No matter how much he wants to fight against it using his own ideology, Deku's right. All them lives that these villains have took, that All Might's just put in prison instead of ending it when he should have, they're all on his hands. Deku picks All Might up and slams him in the ground. He's holding him back now, of course. He's punching him left, right, and he says, all the pain of the families who've lost their loved ones because you didn't do what you actually had to do. How about you know how it feels then? All the audience is sharp. They were all thinking, All Might said to Deku that he made a mistake choosing him. They all got pissed, but they didn't think the symbol of peace was going to get battered like this. Bakugo and all them like fly in and they pull Deku off him. All Might just lays there with tears coming down his eyes saying, I'm sorry, you were right. Deku screams, it's too late now, All Might, you said what you said, you're dead to me. Bakugo was trying to hold him back. Deku grabs him and rips him off him. And he says, look at it, Bakugo. Gosh, I mean, they kill and kill and kill, and then they get released to kill again, or they escape to kill again. Are you not bored of it? Bakugo says, Deku, I never once disagreed with you. Look what you're doing. You're battering the symbol of peace in front of millions. Deku looks at this and he realises what he's done and he says, I apologise, but All Might, you said what you said, you're done. Now fuck off out of my sight. But if you're wondering why I did this, here's going to get the real speech today, guys. This is going to be a real message to society. I do not like the pressure that fully grown adults are putting on our generation. You live your life step by step to make them happy, but then they have the audacity to tell you that you're a failure. listen, this is me talking to you guys now. If someone in your life tells you a favour, I don't care if it's your mum, your great granddad, it can be anyone. If someone dares to say that you're a failure, what do? They live their life to just end up working again. This doesn't apply to everyone, but for those parents watching, if you do this to your kids, I have no respect for you. I could spit in your face when I see you. And for you guys, if someone ever tells you that you're a failure, or they regret something about you, or they're disappointed in you, you look them dead in the eye and you say that again. If they say it again, you spin their jaw. It don't matter if they start beating the shit out of you. They're gonna know that no one talks down on you. We're the ones who are gonna have to carry on the next generation. The one who's gonna keep the world going after their mistakes, after they're the ones causing global warming, after they're the one who want to ignore all the problems, and they will only want to recognise the problems when they realise it's gonna be us who deals with them. So here's my message for you today. Who cares what other people think? Especially who cares what the people who you're meant to listen to thinks? There's limits, of course. Don't go around killing people and saying who cares what the police thinks. Who cares if someone's disappointed in what you've done? If you put your heart and soul into it and someone's disappointed in it, you go over to them and you say suck your mum and you carry on walking. And if they still want to talk to you, you just need to talk facts. So I know all of you have a speech prepared in the back of your heads for what last time parent lectured you about saying that it wasn't even your fault. Let that speech fly. But anyway, back into this. Bakugo seeing this, he says, "You're right, Deku, but you can't batter up the symbol of peace." He then goes over the awful one who's laying there, and he goes, "Please spare me." Deku laughs and says, "Spare you? You're lucky you don't live in hell." Deku kills Awful One, ending the reign of the League of Villains. Shigaraki appears, attempting to kill Deku. Deku is not having it. He doesn't care about how wrong Shigaraki been in his life. So you was abused as a kid, boo-hoo. You killed your parents, boo-hoo. So that means you have the right to kill other people. That's what I did not like about the anime. Oh my god. Oh, I didn't like about the manga. Shigaraki had killed so many people, but just because he had a messed up backstory, you forgave him for that. I get giving him sympathy, but when he was forgiving him, I wanted to slap Deku. He still killed thousands. He still left kids without their own parents. And you're just going to forgive him? Deku backhands Shigaraki, blowing his head off. This marks a new age for heroes. This marks a new way that heroes work. I'm telling you right now, it's time to skip 5 years ahead. The crime rate has dropped from 10% to 1%. Villains who commit murders, they can be in prison, but they get put on death row, or they get killed when they're trying to escape or fight back. All the paedophiles who touch up kids, or the sex offenders, they get put in prison with the rest of the prisoners, and their prisoners do their work on them. This is a new age for heroes and mankind alike in the My Hero Academia universe. No, there isn't going to be a next part for this, as Eri does not happen. The Eri situation doesn't happen. With the crime rate dropping, Deku finds Eri, he saves her, he kills Overhaul. Eri is saved. Deku adopts her. Let's just go with that. Oh no, yeah, he ends up with Melissa, by the way. I forgot to tell you guys, actually. Yeah, he does end up with Melissa. Anyway, guys, I do hope you do enjoy. I know I've rushed this ending, but I wanted to get this speech across because it's been hurting my soul. But yeah, guys, how about this? Every single time I end a what if, I'm gonna end it with a message like I just left it with. It's gonna be a live lesson for you. Other than that, guys, I hope you do enjoy and take what I said in this video to the heart. You are you. The average human lifespan is 70 years. That's over 25,000 days. So what if you mess up one day? You still have another 24,999 days left. So what if you're sad one day? Don't let someone tell you should be happy. You'll be happy when you want to be happy. Well, with that, guys, I'm signing out. Sonara. Peace out. This is the end of the movie, ladies and gentlemen. Like I've always said, and I always will say, if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, share with friends and family. If you want to see maybe a season 2 of it, make sure you hit the like goal of 200 likes. And yeah, I hope you do enjoy. Maybe season 2 will tell, a whole new society, a whole basically new anime where Deku's the number one hero. Maybe there's a new generation. Who knows? But only way to find out. Actually, that's too small of a like, 500 likes, because that's a lot of effort, and I'm not going to be bothered to it. Unless you deserve it. I don't know, I hope you do enjoy it. Felicia, shush. It's not my dog. Yes, my mum's mate has a dog and they named it Felicia because they can hear, bye Felicia. Don't ask me. We are weird. Well, not we. I'm waffling on. Hope you do enjoy. Peace out, guys. Bye.